Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jenny Briggle from TechServe Alliance. Welcome to today's session of the 2016 Certification Webinar Series. The only certainty is change. There will be a question and answer session after the presentation. Feel free to write in any questions you would like to have answered in the question box on the right side of your screen. Also, we are recording today's presentation, and it will be available to TechServe members on the Online Learning Center of the website. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Barb Bruno, President of Good as Gold Training. Barb?
Thank you so much, Jenny. I love when I get to do training for TechServe Alliance members, and I'm glad that there's so many of you on the line today. And we're trying to get the word out that TechServe Alliance is doing these training sessions once a month. So if you have other friends or associates that you know are members of TSA and they're looking for education, we are doing these calls on a monthly basis, and we're getting these topics from all of you. So if there's any topic you'd like me to cover, make sure that you let TSA know, because we want to deliver the training that's most important to you. Now, obviously, change is hitting all of us, and that's why we felt this was an important topic to discuss today. If you do not adapt to change, you're going to greatly limit your growth and success. And the truth of the matter is that if you don't change, the problem is the market changes, candidates change, clients change, laws change, as we all know. Healthcare reform is a great example of that. The business models change. We're faced with things all the time. And so that's why, if you just sit still, even if you're good at what you're doing right now, eventually your competition will run right over you if you're standing still. And I like to compare this to a plant or a tree. You're either growing or you're dying. And I want you to view that. Imagine a plant. If you never watered it, you never took care of it, it would never grow. And so when you're educating yourself and when you're constantly changing the way you work your desk and changing the way you view this profession, you're going to grow. So you're feeding yourself. You're watering the plant so it continues to grow. And the only certainty we do have is change. That's the only certainty in the future, is that it's not going to be exactly like we're predicting, because it never is. So we're going to talk today about the changes to elevate the TSA Certification Program. We're also going to, discuss how can you predict and anticipate trends. The last thing you want to happen is to be blindsided by something you didn't see happening. And that has happened in the past. There have been times when all of a sudden economic conditions or something really tanks, and you're left there, wondering, why didn't I anticipate this? Like, were there signs? We're going to show you how you can predict and anticipate trends. We're also going to discuss what it takes for you to become a change agent, and then I want to, briefly go over some of the changes and updates that we've made in the certification program. So let's start out with changes to elevate the TSA Certification Program, because again, when TSA decided to create a certification program, they wanted to accomplish several things to elevate and differentiate. And this program is no different than the training program in your offices. You can't work your desk the same way and expect different results. If you loved your income last year and you thought that you were at the top, like there's no place for you to go, like you were one of the high achievers, you're a peak performer, then maybe you can continue doing things the way you did last year. But if you looked at your income and thought, gee, there's room for improvement, or you look at other people and say, why am I not producing what they're producing? There's no reason why every one of you listening to my voice can't become the top producer in your office or in your niche as far as that goes. But the first place it has to start is in your mind. And we realized with the certification program that we had to elevate and differentiate the way we're training you. So first of all, this is the only program that focuses on the IT and engineering niche. There is no other certification program that does that. The programs are separated between recruiters and account executives. And if you like these weekly meetings I'm doing, monthly webinars that I'm doing for TSA, these are just a very small sampling of the training that's in the program, because I wrote the training, the best practices for recruiters and account executives, and during these calls we might give you 5% or 10% of what's on these topics in the study guide. So we separated the program because there are differences between individuals that are the recruiters and those that are doing account management or account executive work. The study guides in the exam comprise of 2/3 best practices and 1/3 legal. Almost every other certification program out there is 100% legal. And what TSA wanted to do is TSA wanted to give you a program where you got training on how to work your desk, 2/3 of it are best practices. And so people that are going through the certification are making more money. And so as an owner, I think like an owner, I'm going to invest in something if I know I'm going to get a return on the investment. And we have seen that. The certification program has been out there a couple years now, and the response we're getting from owners has been wonderful, that their people are more successful. Number 4, there's 2 levels. So if you've had anybody in your organization take the CPSR or the CPSAE exam and they pass level 1, we've got a level 2. And the level 2 is case studies. And so level 1, you had to know the information. Level 2 is tougher. It's the same study guide, but now you've got to apply what you learned. The answer to the questions are not contained in the case studies. You have to know from your knowledge and from the depth of knowledge how to apply things. And so we're giving real-life scenarios that your teams work with every day. Also, we review and update the materials annually. We never want this exam to be outdated. And questions are also reviewed, because we don't want any one question to be tripping people up. We want to make sure that we're making this a very fair program. Number 8, we have prep classes. And prep classes are offered at the TSA conference to local TSA chapters. And by the way, if you belong to a TSA chapter or you're part of the leadership and you want to schedule prep training for your chapter, you need to reach out to TSA, and give them what dates and that type of thing, and they can share the information with you. Or if you're a large company and you want to invest in the TSA prep class, the prep class can be delivered like at an annual conference of your company or an annual meeting, but you have to coordinate with, Susan and Jenny at TSA. Number 9, continuing education is required, because you and I both know that you've got to commit to a lifetime of learning if you're going to stay ahead of the game. Because the one thing I love about this profession, and I've been in it more than 25 years, is that it always changes. If you told me 25 years ago I'd still be in the same profession, I probably would have said there's not a chance, because I don't have a great, I always have to have something new. I don't have that long steady that I would be doing the same thing over and over again. I was told my whole life to become a teacher, and I kept saying I cannot see myself in a classroom teaching. I would get bored. And interestingly enough, now what do I do a lot? I've got my own firm, but I also do a lot of training, and I think that's just the natural ability that I had that I didn't want to use, and it came back, where I end up teaching. But it's interesting because we've also got a code of ethics. And when you're out there trying to differentiate, when you're certified, you can say, I adhere to this code of ethics, I've got best practices, I commit to continuing education. Clients love to hear that. And think about the people you place. Certifications, degrees, knowledge is rated very high when it comes to IT and engineering placements. Many people can't get jobs because they don't have the right certifications. And so that's why they really do, love that we've got this certification program for the recruiters or the account executives that they're using right now. Now let's talk about how you can predict and anticipate trends, because this is really important. And you might think, well, I'm not an owner, I'm not a manager. Why should I have to, predict trends? The reason you got to be able to predict trends is it impacts your income. And see, what you have to understand, even when there is a downturn, people are hiring. It's not like all of a sudden the economy goes, is a little weak or there's a soft spot, and then every employer out there decides they're not going to hire. There's still people that quit their jobs. Job satisfaction right now, and this number hasn't changed in 2 years, which I find pretty astounding. The job satisfaction is still at under 20%. So what that means, any of you listening to my voice, 8 out of 10 people that are working there right now would rather be doing something else. They don't love their job. And so they're basically working, but they're waiting for your phone call. And if you ever hear yourself saying, you know what, it's just so hard to find people, like are there developers out there, like these candidates know they're in demand and it's so hard. We're not filling a high percentage of our orders. What I'm going to say back to you is that's the best marketplace for you. When it's tough to find people, that's when we have our most success. Because when it's easy, they don't need us. They don't have to pay the margins. They don't have to use you as much because they can find people on their own. But they want us to give them people that they can't find on their own. Do you have to work a little bit smarter? Do you have to find passive candidates? Do you have to become known for what you do so qualified talent starts tracking you down, and clients that want to hire certain things want to track you down? Of course, you've got to position yourself, but you've also got to predict what's coming down the road and understand something. Our business is cyclical. But Alan Below speaks at many of the TSA conferences. And when I was listening to him last year, he said there's going to be a little bit of a slowdown early this year, not much. But then, from now till 2019, it's going to be a heyday. There's going to be a very little slowdown in 19, and then the 20s are supposed to be just amazing. So when you look at his predictions, and he's one of the most accurate economists I've ever come in touch with. I mean, I read everything Alan does. The future is bright, and even if there is a little bit of a downturn, if you know how to predict and anticipate trends, you'll realize you might have to make double the calls to get half the results, but you've got to know your numbers and your ratios so you know what to do. And every one of you, your desk is a profit or loss center, and you have to understand something. Your owner is in business to make money, not provide a job for you. So your desk has to be a profit center. And I always say that who we are in this profession, we're kind of social workers who like money. We really do want to make a difference. We care about people. That's who we are. But you can't put that awning over your desk because all that time you're spending, doing social working type of activities is costing you money. You've got to focus on the orders you can fill, and you've got to focus on the people you can place. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the staffing and recruiting profession has always been cyclical. But the good news is, employers never completely stop hiring. And I've been through, a number of recessions, and I love when people say, well, there is a recession. And I go, I know there is, but people are still hiring. You may have to work a little bit harder, but that's why when you position yourself to see trends coming down the road, you're not hit as hard. And understand something, you're all in two niches, engineering and IT, that the outlook for you is so bright. I mean, it's amazing. Everybody's trying to get into your niche because they realize how lucrative it is. When there's a negative trend, you may have to dramatically increase your activities for half the results. But again, you still can attain or surpass goals set. So there's no reason why you can't consistently hit or surpass the goals you set to live the lifestyle that all of you deserve to live. I always say this job isn't brain surgery. What we do is not, highly technical. I mean, technology really impacts us, obviously, but it's not easy because we have people on both sides of our sales. They're moving targets. But, you really do have to stand back and realize your desk is a business. And now what I want to give you are 5 strategies that basically can help you predict or anticipate trends. Number 1 is you've got to consistently track your stats and ratios. Numbers don't lie. When your individual ratios increase, that is the best indicator of changes in the marketplace. I want to give you a specific example. In 2008, within a 90-day period, our contract to fill ratio went from 3-to-1 to 7-to-1. And the numbers of contracts we were writing were dramatically decreasing. And by just looking at those 2 numbers, we realized, okay, wait a minute. Business seems to be slowing down a little bit, and they're getting so picky. Your individual ratios don't lie. And you're in sales. When you're in this profession, whether you're an account executive, account manager, a recruiter, an owner, a manager, this is a sales profession. Sales is a numbers game. And every one of you has to track ratios and stats. You've got to know your numbers. It's not about the numbers of calls you make every day. That kills me when people come up to me and say, how many calls should I make a day? Well, once you know what results you need, if you've got to do 3 interviews a day, how many calls do you have to do to book 5 interviews a day? And you heard I didn't make a mistake here. I said if you want to do 3 interviews a day, and that's what you have to do to keep the numbers going where you're going to make as many placements and fills as you want to make, then you have to book 5 because some are going to cancel. And if you only did 2 interviews today and you're supposed to do 3 a day or 15 a week, then you've got to do 4 tomorrow. So how many calls does that take? I don't know. It depends on your ability to recruit. It depends on, it doesn't only depend on your experience. It depends on your skill sets and your ability to close and your ability to always show the other people what's in it for them. You've got to read business and trade publications. TechServe Alliance, I think, takes better care of their members than just about any other association I've ever known. If you read the TechServe Alliance websites, there's so much that they do. There's so much that they provide. Their conference is one of the strongest as far as I've seen internationally, and I've addressed conferences in other countries, and I still think the TechServe Alliance conference is just amazing. And obviously you're members of TechServe. You've got to join associations who can help predict and anticipate trends. Follow Alan Below from ITR Economics because his predictions are accurate. And you might say, well, shouldn't my owner be doing this? You own your own business when you're in this profession. Your desk is your profit or loss center. You've got to be well informed. You can't sit there and expect your owners to do this. You should be subscribing to all the trade publications that your candidates and clients read on your own at your home. Don't only look for your owners to provide training for you. You've got to go out there and you've got to be proactive. You've got to anticipate what's going on. You're talking to hiring authorities and candidates every day. And when you're having these discussions with your clients and your candidates, you know more. You are more of a workplace expert than most people in other professions that claim they're one. Because they might claim that they know what's going on. You're dealing with it every single day of your life. And think about that. Your candidates are telling you what's going on. You know when companies are cutting back. You know when they're merging. You know when things are happening because you're talking to these people day in and day out. You're asking the candidates, where do you want to work and why? Where would you never work and why? And they tell you what's going on in various companies and why they don't want to be there. And you're talking to clients all the time. And so again, listen, and don't listen to judge people. Don't listen to solve things. Listen to understand where people are coming from and read what they're not saying to you. Because your discussions that you're having with clients and candidates are sometimes the first place you're going to start realizing that something's changing in the marketplace. But what I think all of you need to know is no matter what the market does, you're going to be fine. Because you are in two niches that are very, very strong, just very, very strong. And the future is so bright for you because technology continues to change, continues to advance. And basically that impacts both engineering and IT placements and fills. It impacts the clients you're doing business with, and that's good for you. But again, if you're sitting there going, oh, it's so hard to find people, you want to follow that up with it. I'm so happy it is because that's why I've got so many opportunities to find people. You just have to get better at finding people than your competition. And if you implement the strategies, if you basically watch the things I just told you to watch, okay, you're going to predict and anticipate trends. You're never going to get blindsided. And that's not good for us. The other thing I want to suggest that you do in every conversation you're having with people, always start out with, has anything changed since the last time we talked? Because often those answers to that one question show you things that are changing within their company, changing within the marketplace. So always ask, has anything changed since the last time we talked? You're going to be amazed. You're going to be amazed at what you learn just by that one simple question. Now let's talk about what it takes to become a change agent. And I know many people in our profession, we sort of become creatures of habit, okay? And the minute we see our owners changing things, we're like, why are they doing that to me? I have to tell you something. I'm an owner, okay? And I am never going to make a change that's going to hurt the people that work for me. I might make a change that doesn't work, and maybe we decide that it wasn't good for my company. But when I'm trying to roll out something, I need my people to back it up because I never make a change that I haven't thought about. I'm just not going to change things because I just decide I haven't changed anything in the last 30 days. So I'm going to make this crazy change and see if it works. In our profession, what you do is you either adapt to change, again, or your competition is going to run over you, and you can't continue to do things the same way and expect better results, and your owners know that. You have to identify trends from your clients. You've got to identify trends from your candidates. You've got to read trade publications to uncover triggers. What are the hiring triggers that you're uncovering as you're reading these articles? So often people get trade publications and they go to the back where there's some jobs advertised, and then those people get bombarded by hundreds of recruiters contacting them, when in essence, the most information that you're going to gain that's going to help you be better at what you do are in the articles in the trade publications, because they tell you, who's being hired, who's cutting back, who's expanding. It's a proven fact, and this is one of the facts I got from DiscoverOrg, that when they hire a new CIO, that new CIO spends over $1 million their first year, and most of it's on hiring. Now, they're going to bring people from their last company because that's what a CIO does, but they're also going to look to upgrade the team. And so what's a hiring trigger for you if, in fact, you want to land a new client? When you see they've replaced the CIO, that's a very good trigger that they're going to do a ton of hiring in the next 12 months. And those are the types of things you have to learn to be more strategic, to stand back and really view your desk as your own business and act like you own your own business. It's not an 8-to-5 job. You've got to do the research. You've got to change things. You've got to adapt to the latest technology. You can never have technology set you back. And I had an individual called my office the other day, and he's so upset because his owner changed their ATS system. And he goes, this transition and just trying to integrate our information, it's just a nightmare. And just so all of you know, when your owners change their ATS system, they're trying to get to the latest, greatest ATS system for you, they know they're going to lose money, and they know it's going to cost them a fortune. It can cost a fortune to get, the information integrated into a new system. But understand something. If I'm an owner and I'm going to say we're going to change something, believe me, I believe that the benefits of the new system are going to make you more efficient, make you more effective, make you more money, or I would never do it because it's very expensive. And I know that, you're in your ATS system every day. The last thing you want to do is deal with a new system. But if there's something out there that can make you better at your job, it's your owner's responsibility to make those tough decisions, but they need you to back them up. When your owners make changes, try to prove them right, not prove them wrong. You've got to make adjustments that cause you to be nervous. If you never have a lump in your throat or a knot in your stomach, then you're in your comfort zone. You're not learning. You can't come to work and be on automatic pilot at work. You might say, well, it's not broken, I'm successful, but that doesn't mean you can't be more successful. Every one of you listening to my voice could do more than you're doing now. Of course you could, but you're not going to do it because I'm your owner and I tell you to do it, or I get up in front of you and say, we're going to have a record year. I learned with my team that sometimes that demotivated them. I had to find out what they were trying to achieve. And all of you, if you don't have your 10 non-negotiable goals posted where you see them where you work, you need to do that. You need to have 10 non-negotiable goals in all areas of your life posted by your phone so that when you don't want to pick up the phone or you don't want to be rejected again, you're looking at what you're trying to do for yourself and the people you care about. Because unless you know where you're going, you're not going to get there. If you're trying to send your son to Harvard, believe me, nobody has to motivate you. If you've got a daughter getting married and you've got to pay for a wedding, no one has to motivate you. If you want that second home or you want to change the home you're in or you want to drive a better car, that's what motivates you. Your owners and managers can't motivate you. They also can't make you a change agent. And I love when I hear people say, I just am not good with change. Never say that again because that's going to hold you back. You have to learn to embrace change. Technology has changed everything. Our business doesn't even resemble what we did 15 years ago. And it's interesting because they keep saying that the students that are graduating from college this year, with a technology degree, that the jobs they're going to take, the degrees aren't even preparing them for it because by the time they get out in the workforce, the skill sets they learned are outdated. I mean, that's how fast things move. And so what I want you to do is do something that makes you uncomfortable. Do something that you've never done before. You should be implementing one new idea in the way you work your desk every month, just one. Implement one change for 21 days straight, and now you've replaced a bad habit with a new habit. But, again, if your owner comes up with a change or announces something new, your attitude has to instantly go, great, I wonder how this is going to improve the way I work my desk. You've also got to implement the 5 characteristics of a change agent. And people that embrace change, okay, have certain things in common. And I want you to understand these 5 characteristics because if these are not your characteristics, these might be things you need to work on in order to be able to embrace change. Change agents, people that are embracing change have a very clear vision. They help others see that there's many ways to achieve a goal or a common purpose. If you say that's not the way we've done it in the past, that's probably good that you're doing something that you didn't do in the past because chances are the way you did it in the past is not the most efficient way to do it today. People that are good change agents are patient, but they're very persistent. They understand that everybody works at a different pace, but every step forward is a step, closer toward attaining a goal. I don't think anybody, as an owner, I don't expect all my people to basically embrace change at the same pace because they don't work at the same pace. But as long as they're moving toward where we're trying to go, that's all I expect as an owner. You've got to also learn to ask tough questions. Keep asking questions to help people think rather than telling them what to do. If you're trying to implement a change and you're getting resistance, just keep asking questions that make people think. Or if you're afraid of the change, really sit down with the person who's trying to implement the change and just, ask them questions that help you understand where you're going by this change. People that are leaders and change agents are also knowledgeable and they lead by example. have character and credibility, have the character and credibility proving you know what you're talking about, and show others what to do. Lead by example. When people tell me what to do or they tell me what they're going to do, I'm never that impressed by that. I'm kind of one of those show me girls. Show me by what you're doing. Don't tell me, how great you are. Show me how great you are. Don't tell me you're going to do this. Show me that you're doing it. And I would never ask somebody to do what I'm not willing to do myself. And I think that's so important. People that are change agents understand that. They're doing what they're trying to get other people to do. And they've got strong relationships built on trust. You've got to develop strong relationships, and you've got to be approachable, but you've also got to be reliable. I have to know that in the middle of a change that whatever you tell me you're going to do, you do. So I have to be able to approach you with questions. I've got to be able to approach you to get a clarity, but I've also got to know that I can rely upon you, that that you're going to jump right in with both feet, that if you're going to implement a change or you're going to try to get me to change something, that I know that I can rely on you, I can trust you, and that you're going to be approachable, that I can go to you for guidance. And again, think about these 5 things, these 5 characteristics I've just gone through. If you don't have these, if, I was going through this, God, that's not me. That's not me. Then these might be things you need to work on to advance your career. Because understand something. There was one reason I got involved in the TSA Certification Program. Well, there wasn't one reason. There were a couple of reasons. But the first reason was because I really respect TSA. So anything TSA was going to do, if they asked me to be a part of it, I'm almost automatically going to say yes to TSA for just about anything they ask me to do. And trust me, I don't feel that way about that many organizations, but I highly respect TSA. And then when I saw that the certification program was going to be best practices, because I would not get involved with the program if it was 100% law. What I realized was that this program was going to make you all better at what you do. It was going to make you more money. It was going to give you changes that you could implement to become better. And that's what this is all about. It's all about you making more money, you improving. Now, lastly, what I want to talk about are what are some of the changes and updates that we've made in the certification program. Now, I've talked about, what you can do to be a change agent, what you can do to predict and anticipate trends and how to become better at what you're doing, in your career. But we also realize that we've constantly got to update, and again, every single year, we're looking at average scores on the CPSR and the CPSA exams, level 1 and 2. We're looking at every question that was answered incorrectly to make sure that there's no questions that are not tripping you up, whether it's, done on the CPSR or CPSAE exam. And again, we don't want to mislead you. We don't want it to be unclear. We're very, very, committed to the fact that we want this to be the best certification program out there. We also review additional topics requested. Anybody that's taken the certification exam, we ask them, are there any additional topics you want us to add? And this year, we've added 2 new lessons, one on legal, it's going to cover the Healthcare Reform Act, and we're doing more on social media. And we have to be careful when we're doing things on social media because it's like the minute you write it, it's outdated. So, we're trying to give this as current as we can. And again, we review this exam every single year to make sure that we're on top of the topics that are most important to you. And so we will continue our commitment to all of you, whether you've taken the exam already. If you've taken level 1, congratulations. I hope you're using it to differentiate. I hope you're making more money, and I hope you sign up for level 2. For those of you that have not taken it, I hope you sincerely consider doing this because it really does make you better at your work. It really does enhance your knowledge. And we're going to continue these annual reviews to ensure the integrity and the accuracy of the TSA certification program is always at the highest level possible. There's something else I wanted to announce that all of you should have gotten a newsletter. Any of those of you that are certified, you should have gotten the certification newsletter. It went out last week, and you're going to get this newsletter every other month. It's a bi-monthly publication because we want to keep educating you. We want to make sure that you've got every tool you can to differentiate and be better than your competition. The other thing is there's a column in there that's called Certified Individuals Raising the Bar or something like that. And those are actual, articles written by account executives and recruiters that are certified. And basically, it's giving their best practices. It's giving things that are working for them. And so those of you that are certified, make sure you watch for that newsletter bi-monthly because there's a tremendous amount of really good information in there that's going to continually help you, improve yourself. It's going to continue that education that you've committed to. And also, we'd love for you to write articles. you've got roughly 45 days now before the next one, the deadline of the next one, that'll come out toward the end of March, I believe. And so I would really encourage all of you that are certified, if there's something you're great at, if you've done something that really worked, or you came up with an idea that you'd love to share, we would really like to include you in this newsletter. And by the way, if you're published in a newsletter by your professional association, think about that. That's a marketing tool you can use for both your candidates as well as your clients. I just wrote an article on this for our national publication. I do have my certification, but also, they published me in their last newsletter that goes out to everybody certified, because, and I mean, think of how great that is. You have something in print that you can use as the way you're marketing yourself and differentiating yourself from other recruiters and other account executives or account managers. So not only do we want you to send articles because we love to print your articles, but this is a way for you to get published. And if you get published in the TSA newsletter, and then you reach out to a trade publication and you want to submit an article, you can say that you were published in the trade publication of your national association. And so it's kind of a launching pad to get you out there. And once you're published, it's so funny. You could have a year of experience. And once you're published, all of a sudden you're the expert, and people love that you've got, that you've got an article that was published. So it also helps that differentiator. All right, that's our topic for today. Now what I want to do is the most important part of the call. I want to open it for your questions. Your questions can be about anything. It doesn't have to be about today's topic. Anything that I can do in the next 30 minutes to help you work your desk better, to help you make more money, that's what these calls are all about. That's why we do these calls live. I mean, they're recorded so that you'll get the recording of this call after the call, but we also want to have live interaction. Now you can ask me questions one of two ways. You can go to the control panel on the right, and when you called in, you were given a telephone number, you were given an access code and a PIN number. If you put the PIN number in, when you're on a landline, not a cell phone, you can go to the attendee list and you can find your name. And there's a little yellow hand there that looks like a hand being raised. And if you raise your hand, I can unmute your line, and you and I can talk, and we can actually role play. Or if you'd rather type in a question, what you can do is see the word question. It's like 90% of the way down on the control panel to the right. And if you click on the word question, it opens a dialog box. And then you can type in any question. Now, if you don't want me to use your first name, I have a tendency of personalizing things, so I'll use your first name. But if you don't want me to use your name, you want to ask me a question anonymously, just put down confidential anonymous before your question, and I'll make sure I don't use your name. Now, Chris, I see you raised your hand, so let me unmute your line. Okay, Chris, I've got you unmuted. What is your question? Chris with the last name starting with K, I've got your line unmuted. Did you have a question, Chris? Chris, you want to see if your line is muted? I've unmuted on my part. Okay, I don't hear Chris there, so I'm going to take his hand down because obviously he didn't want to talk to me. I don't know why. Let's see. Let's go to the questions on the bottom. Okay, here we've got questions. Okay, my first question is from Mark. If we have an article we would like to submit, where do we submit it to? You would just send it to TSA, and you could send it either to Jenny or to Susan. And let me see if we've got their contact information on the last slide, because often we put their contact information on the last slide here. Let me see if we've got it. There it is. And so you've got the contact information right in front of you, of where you can submit your articles and who to contact at TSA. So I would basically send it to either of the, the contacts that you've got there, or you can call Emily, and see where to send the article. But they're really interested, Mark, in your articles. So please, if you've got a good article and you're certified, make sure you submit it. Now, the only people that are getting articles printed are people that have actually earned either the level 1 or level 2 certification for either exam. So if you are on this phone and you're not certified, unfortunately, you can't submit an article because this is the this is a certification newsletter, and everybody that's submitting, and it does say like certified individuals are raising the bar, and these are their articles. So, you do have to be someone who's certified. Let's see. Okay, this is from Judy. Barb, can you tell me how much my production would increase if I was certified? There is no percentage. I mean, I would love to say that everybody that's been certified has increased their production by 30%, or I'd love to give you some number, but we don't know that. We can't quantify it. I can tell you that when I do a prep class and people get certified, I get emails from them constantly after, they've gone out there in like 3 months, 4 months after, and they share with me the ideas that they're using. And what they've said a lot to me is, Barb, when we went through the training with you, some of the things we knew, but we just stopped doing. And I don't know why we stopped doing them. They worked, and we're not doing them. And so we started doing some of the things that we stopped doing. And plus, you just have a way of tweaking things, of giving these little subtle changes that make things so much more effective. I give a couple 6-word phrases that can double recruiting hits or can make sure that you're not blindsided. And I have people come back and say, those 6 words made me so much money, I can't even believe it. Or just knowing where to focus. It's not the person who works the hardest that wins in our profession. It's the person that knows where to put their focus. And so that's what we try to do in the certification program. But I can tell you, we've had no company send people through the certification exam that have come back and said, what a waste of our time. Our people were not better skilled, they're not making more money. And that's huge, because you and I both know that we're pretty vocal. And if something's not working, we're going to let them know. Plus, we have some, big companies that are getting everybody in their company certified. Like they're literally paying to bring me out to different regions and train their people, because once they had one region get certified, they're seeing the difference. A company is not going to invest a lot of money getting everybody certified, and you've got several organizations now that are certifying everybody, because the minute they started doing this, they realized the knowledge base. This is all best practices. And that's why so many people are starting to certify all their people. And eventually what's going to happen is you're going to have your clients asking you, are you certified? Because, again, it's one thing to market it to us. It's another thing, and companies are realizing we've got a certification program now for, engineering and IT recruiters and account executives and account managers and owners and managers. By the way, this program is not only for the people that work for you. We have many owners and managers going through this because they want the knowledge and they want to see what their people are going through. And is this a great program for owners and managers? This is a great program for anybody that works for you. There is something in this for everybody. We've all got to know the laws. We've all got to know industry practices, and we've all got to know best practices. And that's the exam. There's 3 sections, and that's why it benefits anybody and everybody. But can I give you an exact percentage? I can't. Okay. Our company has an annual meeting in June. Would it be possible to arrange prep training? Yes. All you would have to do, Frank, is just contact TSA and find out, what is all involved in arranging the prep class. And the prep class is training. So also, if you're bringing your people together, for an annual meeting, they're getting very strong training by going through the prep class. So the educational part of your meetings could be the certification prep class, and so it will kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. They'll be basically ready to take the certification exam, but also it's great education. It's, and it covers all the fundamentals plus. It's not only, people say, is this for rookies? Is it for experienced people? We've had people go through the prep class with 20, 25 years of experience that said, I never even heard of a lot of this stuff. This stuff is great. So whether you've got people with light experience or heavy experience, the certification program is very effective. Let's see, this is from Jenny. If you were new in the industry as an account executive, where would you start? If I was new as an account executive in this industry, what I would do, I would look at what business has been filled in the last 2 years in my office. So I'm a new account executive. I'm doing client development. And so I want to know where we've been successful. So what I would do is I would go in our ATS and I would ask my owner or manager, where can I find out where we've been successful? And I would do revenue modeling. I would go back and I would see, what type of industry, how big was the company, how many employees, what titles are we placing, what is the bill and pay rate, or what is the salary if it's a direct placement, what is the gross margin of profit that we're getting, because there's certain contracts that come in and you're going to fill them, and yet we write all this business, that we're never going to fill, all the purple squirrels. And so if I'm a new account executive, I want 85% of my marketing efforts to go at the same business that we've been filling. Because as a new person, understand something. If my firm just filled a .NET developer, and I find out that in the last year we've placed 20 .NET developers out on contract, okay, I know if I write a contract for a .NET developer, the chances are there's people in the database and there's new people surfacing, because often the best people surface after a job's been filled or a contract's been filled. And so what you want to do is look at what the most successful account executives, what kind of business are they writing? Don't mirror their work habits, because when you're new, you can't mirror the work habits of an account executive who's really experienced or a recruiter who's really experienced, because they know who to call and how to call, so they don't have to work as hard as you do. You've got to make 5 times the calls that an experienced person does. But look at the business they're working on. Make 85% of your efforts at best business. And the only way you know where to put your efforts and who to sell to is if you see where you've been successful. Most firms right now are filling 1 out of every 7 orders they're writing. You don't want to write one of those 6 that they're not filling. You want to look at what they're filling. What are the top 6 titles that your firm is placing, and try to write that business, because that will help you be more successful as an account executive. The other thing is try to get interviewing times when you're writing business. Get interviewing times and get a target date to start, because then you're assured that you're going to get people on interviews. Because sometimes they give you business and you don't know if it's hot or not. They say, and we have a tendency of putting ASAP or immediately or yesterday on all the business we write. They're not saying that. What is the target date? And when are they available to interview? Then you know what your recruiter should be working. And you've got to go back excited. You know, you don't want to bring business in as a brand new account executive and give it to the recruiting team and they roll their eyes. Like, are you kidding me? Like, why did you write this? You know, so that's why up front, you've got to learn what business are they going to welcome. You know, who do they have on their database? You know, what are the jobs that when you bring them in, your recruiters get excited because it's what you do. You know, so that would be the best advice I could give somebody to welcome, by the way, to the profession. Because, and again, if you're on this phone, you've got 3 or 4 things to your advantage. Number 1, you're working for an owner that believes in training. That's why you're on the call. Number 2, you're working for a TSA member, which is so important. That means your organization backs their professional association, you know. And number 3, you know, you've got the ability to ask questions early in your career before you have a lot of bad habits. And so, you know, you're working for the right company at the right time in history. Job satisfaction is at historic lows. There's a tremendous need for candidates. So you've entered our profession one of the best times in history. You know, just put your efforts where you know you're going to get results. Okay, this is Sandy. Oh, Sandy actually asked the question. Thanks for the great feedback. You're welcome, Sandy, and I hope it helps you. And welcome to the best profession on the face of the earth. Okay, I see no more questions. Let me see if anybody else raised their hands. Let me go back and see if anybody raised their hands. So none of you want to talk to me. I'm not going to take that personal. Okay, I'm going to turn this call back over to Jenny to see if there's any last things Jenny'd like to add to the call. Call's all yours, Jenny.
All right, thanks, Barb. I would just like to remind everyone that next month's session will be on Thursday, March 3rd at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And our title for next week is Formula for Success, 3 + 3 = 3. We will be covering the success formula for the TSA Certification Program, the success formula for candidates, the success formula for clients, and how technology has created this success formula. Now I'd like to say, Barb, thank you for another great presentation on behalf of TechServe Alliance and everyone attending.
Well, you know I love TechServe and I love training for you. So, and by the way, next month's session is a very strong session. It's going to show you how some things have changed, and those formulas, you've got to know them. So make sure you sign up now. Make sure you tell everybody else you know to get on next month's call, because that is a very strong program and it's information you're not going to want to miss. So I strongly suggest that all of you really plan to be on next month's call.
And everyone, we will be sending out an email with today's slides and a link of today's presentation, along with a link to the certification webpage. We'll also have our contact information if you want to send us an article for our bi-monthly newsletter, Beyond Certification, or if you just have a question that you want to send us, we're here for you. Thank you,
and
everyone.
I'd like to add one last thing. Sorry, Jenny, didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm actually going to post a couple questions today on the certification LinkedIn for both recruiters and account executives, and I'd love to see your answers. And so, you know, this is something where we have a LinkedIn group. We're getting very active, and so we're going to post a couple questions there today, and I would love to answer, you know, get your responses, and, you know, I'll respond to anything that you have, on these topics. So please also go to those LinkedIn groups and participate, because again, it's a way for you to get better. It's a way for you to get your opinions out there and get some reactions. So I would love to welcome all of you to react to the questions that we're posting on LinkedIn today.
Yeah, and we will be including links to those LinkedIn groups as well in the email we'll send out following this, so that way you can find them very easily on LinkedIn. Thank you. So thank you everyone for attending, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, TSA. Bye.